I collapsed in the hall, and they carried me into the office across from where I was teaching. They had to formally tell me, even though I knew. And then my world was different.
It happened here, where the winding Ogeechee River meets the golden Georgia marshlands before making its way to the Atlantic. It was here that young Matthew Freeman found his life.
He just loved exploring the river. He went out by himself and spent hours out there, coming back with treasures. He would bring me back the wild flowers that grew in the marsh so that Mom would have flowers.
Tucked in a bend on the river, young Matt's home was, for him, a castle, where he imagined himself a hero.
I think he believed himself to be the white knight. You know, he was going to come to everybody's rescue.
For his two sisters, he was their big brother, someone to look up to. Matthew's storybook life included the fact that his mother, Lisa, a 30-year veteran school teacher, was a hometown fixture in Richmond Hill, Georgia. The bucolic suburb just south of Savannah seems frozen in time, like a Norman Rockwell painting.
Hey y'all, this is Field 2.
Where Little League Picture Day is a highlight of the year.
Good try, see the ball.
Where tennis lessons are a family event for all to share. And where the town's centerpiece gazebo is remembered for a boy named Matthew Freeman, because when the gazebo fell into disrepair, he took it upon himself to fix it. One day, Matthew set off on another adventure and discovered something set back from the banks of the river, almost hidden from view. Cannons from the Civil War's Fort McAllister.
And he got passionate about the Civil War and swords and all that kind of thing.
He also parlayed his interest in the fort to create a cover story for something else along the river that captured his attention: a girl.
It was an easy excuse. Mom, I need to go over toward Fort McAllister there, and he would be going over to see her. I think that might have been the only girl he ever did that with, was Teresa. But that goes back to 7th grade. That one was always special.
So too was it becoming apparent to many in Richmond Hill that Matthew Freeman was special. He'd read all of Shakespeare's works before he got into high school. He played saxophone in the school's marching band, sang in the choir. He went out for tennis, made the team, won 2 regional championships, and with his coach, found an abiding friendship.
Character is one of those things that isn't developed on the courts, it's revealed. And he was the epitome of a sportsman. Matt is one word, that I can think of, and it's probably the best word I can come up with. Matt's a reward.
When Matt was very young, Lisa married Gary Freeman, a graduate of the Naval Academy and second-generation Navy pilot. She watched as Gary instilled in Matt a love of the Naval Academy and of flying.
I don't remember him not thinking of flying from that time on. That's what he wanted to be. He was going to be a pilot.
Matt followed in Gary's footsteps to become the 3rd generation of Freemans to wear Navy wings after he graduated from the Naval Academy.
Always seemed to try to do what he could to reach a common ground and do the right thing. On his Marine Corps sword, I had engraved, "When no one's watching." And what that meant was, your character is important, and how you act and how you respond when nobody's looking.
So it was no surprise that when Matt learned Marines were needed on the ground in Afghanistan, he opted out of the relative safety of the cockpit and volunteered. But before he left, he married that girl he met on the river back in 7th grade. Teresa Hess was in the Air Force now, and both were stationed in Okinawa. 2 weeks after they were married, Matthew was in Afghanistan, where within a matter of days he saw something that led him to call his mother.
He called and he said, "Mom, the kids are so cute, the people are so nice, but the kids would rather have pens and paper than food and water. What can you get going for a fundraiser as quickly as you can and get stuff over here?"
2 days later, school began in Richmond Hill.
with each class, I was holding up my kids' pictures and explaining who I was and saying where my son was and telling them about Matt's conversation with me. I was called to the door. My principal was there and she said, "Lisa, you need to come with me. Somebody else will watch your class for a minute." And I knew right away. And I said, "No, I'm not going to go with you." And I kept trying to say, "Told me he was just hurt." And I knew that he wasn't. And then she said, "No, there are people waiting for you in the office." And I collapsed in the hall. And they carried me into the office across from where I was teaching, and we proceeded to let the Marines come to me, and they had to formally tell me, even though I knew. And then my world was different. I was in that world of all of those people who have had to go through something like this.
In Afghanistan, a memorial service for a fallen comrade.
We've lost an American, we lost a Marine. A wife has lost a husband, a family has lost a son and a brother. But I felt he has a greater calling now. He's went to get something ready for all of us who one day will go to be where he is. So, as a Marine, it hurts, but I know I'll see him again one day.
At the Naval Academy, a Bronze Star for heroism and tributes from the highest levels of the Marine Corps.
Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? Who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, Lord, send me." That set the tone for Matt's life. "Here I am, Lord, send me."
And in Richmond Hill, on Matthews River, his hometown mourned.
Matthew Freeman loved life, his family, his wife, and country, and he dearly loved Richmond Hill.
Months later, a Veterans Day memorial service was held in Richmond Hill, there to receive a plaque in honor of her husband, Matthew's widow, Teresa.
Very proud to be standing here for him today, but again, never a day goes by that I don't wish he was also here.
But more than any words, any memorial or tribute, the most lasting impression on Lisa Freeman is how Richmond Hill responded to her family.
I had been sequestered here at the house, did not want to leave either this room or my bedroom. And my husband had finally said, "Lisa, I need to take you out and just show you all the signs and the flags and the banners." So when they came to pick us up in the limousine and took us out to the airport, and I started to see where people were kind of along the side of the road, I was just amazed. When did people do this? When did they plan all this? And all standing at attention and everything. My husband stepping forward to salute his coffin. Then leaving the airport with him for 17 miles. The streets were lined, and as we got closer and closer to Richmond Hill, the crowds grew. It was amazing. It was overwhelming. It was surreal. It was uplifting. It is something that will stay with me till I die, that these people came out and gave me some kind of hope that there was a reason. It had gotten in the paper, his last words to me. And the scout troop here in Richmond Hill picked up school supplies and everything. Then those were all collected and were loading up on the planes. They were taken to Matthew's unit and distributed. To me, it was amazing that he was there a week and he had already seen such a great need and was already trying to get something going. We're looking at this program, the Matthew Freeman Project, Pens and Paper for Peace, so that children wherever we're in armed conflict will have their educations continue or supplemented or somehow improved because Matthew had a vision. Matt's message to me was God's message to me. I hear Matthew speaking to me loudly. I gave this to you, Mom. This is a chance to move on and do something wonderful for the world. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make that effort on Matthew's behalf and children's behalf because I've been spoken to this way.